Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black entrepreneur experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and entrepreneurs from all over the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. How would you like to turn your data in dollars? We have a professor prospecting expert, AKA, they call her the money. She is founder and CEO of Research Pro. Welcome, Regina Alhassan.
Thank you so much, Francis. I'm thrilled to be here and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have this conversation.
I've given our audience such a brief bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you want them to know about you and your company?
Absolutely. I'm Regina Alhassan, CEO of Research Pro, and Research Pro is my prospect development and consulting firm. I work with nonprofit leaders. I really enjoy working with nonprofit leaders and helping them reach their highest goals. I do that by helping them to identify qualified giving prospects for multi-million dollar fundraising campaigns, and then also helping them to build out the systems and the data infrastructure that they need to support the full donor cycle from cultivation all the way through solicitation to stewardship as well.
Tell us the backstory. How did you get to helping nonprofits and also in terms of helping them with funding?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like many of my colleagues, well, let me take a step back and say I've been in major gift fundraising my entire career, which is about 23 years now. And like many of my colleagues, kind of fell into fundraising, fell into professional fundraising at my alma mater, at the Ohio State University. Right after graduation, right out of undergrad, I needed a job, and there was this assistant job in a development office in the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences, of all places. And if you know me, I'm a city girl, I'm an urban girl. And so the agricultural college was a surprising fit for me, actually, but accepted that position in the fundraising office for that college and had a light bulb moment of just like, wow, this is how it all works. This is why there are scholarships at the college. This is why there are names on the building. And then more importantly, had a light bulb moment of this is how I can be a change agent. This is how I can bring change to the world. And really, this is how I can create impact and transformative change within Black communities. So it was, just kind of destiny probably, but fell into the role and have not looked back since, and got into prospect development and prospect research and really, really enjoyed that sort of the internal, the backside, the back end fundraising. And so the more internal role, the fundraisers and the gift officers that are out there managing relationships and making the ask and asking for donations, etc. But then on some lucky teams, there's the entire prospect development team supporting that and pushing out names of qualified giving prospects. And I got into that work in that lane and really, really enjoyed it. And about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, decided to start my own firm. Thought I could do better for myself. Got tired of the glass ceiling, which oftentimes felt like the concrete ceiling. Got tired of working while Black, and got tired of the lack of opportunities for advancement, despite being one of the highest performing um, employees. And so that typical scenario took a leap of faith, and it has been the best thing.
Talk about pivoting during the pandemic. How did that work?
Yeah. So although I started my firm 5 years ago in 2017, and it's coming up on 6 years now. But I started my firm in 2017. I was still working part-time, had a full-time job at one point, and was still sort of on the fence, feet in both worlds. Had this sort of side hustle in Research Pro. I thought I could do something with it, and but also still working full time. And so it was in 2019 when I just finally said, I'm full on Research Pro, full time Research Pro. I'm not doing anything else. Um, and that was 2019, mid-year 2019. So about 6 months in, March 2020 rolled around, and the world shut down. And I panicked. It was just like, what's going to happen? Didn't quite know what to expect, as everyone, we all experienced that. But I was fortunate, actually, and really, really blessed that it created an incredible lane of opportunity for me. So my work as a prospect development professional really is web-based. So it created an opportunity for me to create client relationships and gain clients from across the country, and still be able to do work for them. And that was, and not a wild expectation to work remotely. Everyone was doing it. So it really created an opportunity for me to grow my business and figure out which lane works best for me, which products, which service offerings work best for me. And so the pivot really was not about changing how I operated my business. The pivot was more about leaning into my faith, and leaning into, knowing that I'm on the right path and trusting that when you take that leap, when you use your wings, they do grow, and growing that faith relationship, um, with what I define as my source.
What is something that we or individuals that are in the nonprofit industry, what is something they don't know about prospect development that they should know that they don't?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question. So the first thing that they should know is that this lane exists, this mini industry, this sort of niche industry within the larger industry of fundraising and philanthropy. Prospect development is an international industry, just like we are familiar with the Association of Fundraising Professionals, which is a global professional association. The prospect development piece has its own international professional association called APRA. And so this is an industry. I run into uh, prospects, clients, colleagues when I'm doing webinars across the country. I'm always surprised by the number of seasoned fundraisers, new fundraisers, mid-career fundraisers that just have never even considered the use of data, data applications within their fundraising, the use of prospect development and prospect management. It's a whole new world for them. And it's not that they know that they need it once they see it, like, oh yes, we absolutely need to know who we are assigned to, what the goals are. We need to be tracking that. When's the last time I spoke with my donor? How many people am I supposed to meet with this month to meet my metric? What are the metrics? I still come across so many nonprofit fundraisers, fundraising professionals that are not tracking basic pieces of data. And so just to know that this exists, it's important. It's an important investment in your donor relationship. And so just equaling that, I like to equate it to like the investment that you put into your prospect management and your donor management demonstrates the value that you have for your donors. And so if you think about, the personal relationships you have with your life, whether or not that's your spouse or a friend, if you don't call them, you don't keep track of the important dates for them, If they do something nice for you and you don't say thank you, you never reciprocate. If you ask a friend to help you, help me, give me a loan or help me do something, and they help you, and then you never go back and say, oh, that was really helpful, I really appreciate it, this is what I was able to do for it, do because of your assistance and your support, your friendship, your investment in me, it really means a lot. If you never do that in your personal relationships, then you can imagine that the personal relationship will start to fizzle. That person doesn't see themselves as being valued by you. And the same way is true for our donors. And the way that nonprofits are able to really track those relationships and manage those relationships, especially when we're talking about a $50 million annual goal, $100 million campaign goal, and you have a database of 10,000 records, 50,000 records, etc. It's impossible to manage all of those donor relationships one by one. And so that's where your data management comes into play. That's where your prospect management and prospect development comes into play. This is a really important field and investment for nonprofit leaders to buy into.
Talk about raising capital to start your business. How did you fund your business?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like many other, I think, Black women, entrepreneurs, small solo entrepreneurs, it's been my own investment. So saving the money, or taking the money from one paycheck to file the state registration to become an official LLC, and then one step at a time, saving the money that I needed to purchase software to actually conduct my business and provide the services that I offer. And then making sure I love for everything to pay for itself. So making sure that everything does pay for itself as much as possible. So making sure that I had a client or some sort of revenue coming in to cover the next investment in my business. And so it has been a lot of bootstrapping and just throwing in to my own dream, and really just being intentional about making that investment in myself and now my business.
Regina, thank you for your authenticity. And you talked about being a hybrid entrepreneur. And so, for those
Mm-hmm.
that don't know what a hybrid entrepreneur is, you talked about some people call it a side hustle. You were working your nine to faint, as well
Mm-hmm.
as building and sowing into your dream. I want you to
Mm-hmm.
speak specifically to that person in the audience, that woman who is in that hybrid mode. What advice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. To that other woman, to that other Black woman, that other woman of color, just this, you got it. You can do it. Take that leap. That is maybe the one and only regret that I have, is that I did not leap sooner. I did not believe in myself sooner. I did not bet on Black sooner. I did not bet on myself sooner. That is probably the only regret that I have. And, recognizing that the journey is the journey and it gets you to where you are, and every step of the journey pushes you. And I recognize, especially just before I took that leap, there were some things that absolutely just needed to happen. They were challenges at the time, but there are things that needed to happen to push me to the edge of that cliff to finally take that leap. Like, I recognize that. But at the same time, I wish I had taken that leap sooner. Believe in yourself. I believe in you. There were people around me, family and friends, that truly, truly encouraged me, like gave me courage when I didn't have courage. Lean into that, embrace that, the people that are supporting you. And I will be fully transparent here. There was, and candid, there were definitely moments where I was afraid. So do it afraid. There are times I'm still afraid. I was afraid last week about something, but do it afraid and keep doing it afraid. I remember early in my business when I think when I submitted my very first proposal, my husband held my hand as I hit the send button. I was so terrified. So terrified. Like I just couldn't. I'm a bold and otherwise I'm a bold person. I'm a leader. I'm the designated spokesperson wherever I am. But I was absolutely terrified. Like I can't even describe the feeling of fear. And it took my husband holding my hand, standing there next to me at the computer as I hit the send button. And so I would encourage you to do it afraid. You can't, you, no matter how much fear you're feeling now, I promise you, I have felt just as much, if not more. You absolutely can do it. Um, and just go ahead and do it. Bet on yourself. You got it.
And shout out to your husband. That is an awesome story. Talk about marriage and managing a
Oh,
business.
wow. Oh, so that has also been a journey, actually, and have gone through. So I step back and say, about 2 years ago, I participated in, about a year and a half ago, I participated in this workshop, um, and it was all about Black women in business, Black women leadership, and there was a panel conversation, and there were Black women on the panel, like in my local area, and like powerful Black women who I've watched, their career and just have admired these women, just powerful movers and takers in my city. And each one of them, in their own arenas, their own spheres, etc. In this panel, they talked about very specifically to other Black women: if you want to be successful in your business, go to therapy. And I thought, of all the business coaching advice, no one has ever said this: go to therapy, with the premise that Black women have experienced trauma. And, we don't have to debate the historical accuracy of that. Like on so many levels, we do. And so it was just kind of like, oh, okay, if I want to be like them, each one of them is saying across the board, you must go to therapy because you got things you need to work out. You got money mindset you need to work out. You got self-worth, things that you need to work out. You got relationship stuff you need to work out. So you go to therapy. And so from going to therapy and being involved in some other wellness circles, specifically for Black women business owners, really helped me to be intentional about how I show up in my marriage and navigating that and balancing it against how I show up as a CEO and making the decision for me that I can be a badass CEO. I can be a top dog CEO and I can bring all of that energy. But that's not necessarily the same energy that I want to bring to my marriage. I don't necessarily, as the CEO of Research Pro, I run everything. I make all the decisions. Everybody does exactly what I want. I pay, independent contractors to do things. I pay vendors. I expect a certain thing. And that's the energy that is required as a CEO to show up, to lean into me, for me, what I define as my more masculine energy. And so I have to lean into that for work, but I don't want to lean into that in my marriage. As the woman that I am, I want my husband to be the head of our household. And so really being intentional about being soft, being softer, and turning off the CEO hat and brain when it comes to my marriage. We also have um, a 7-year-old daughter, and I have a 27-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. So there's also the motherhood And that helps me turn off the 7-year-old turns off my CEO brain really quickly. Like that's so balancing that. And then during COVID, everyone was at home, and I work out of my home. My business is based in my home. And so the energies and the dynamics of working home, I had to get really intentional about in this room right here. I'm the boss. I run all of this. Go outside this door, my office door here, and I'm mom, I'm wife. And those are very different roles and very different energies for me. And that's how I navigate that and keep peace.
I love that.
Yeah.
Regina, you started down that path. I want you to go a little deeper. Talk about self-care. What does
Hmm.
self-care look like for Regina?
Oh, I'm really into this. And so again, because of therapy, that really helped me. Um, it helped me prioritize. It helped me, and because of what my journey was, it helped me give voice to, oh no, there are limits, there are parameters, and building parameters is a level of self-care for me. Um, and what does that look like? Within my home, and so thinking about home and work balance, within my home, we now have a schedule where we share the meal prep. So I have 2 days out of the week is my 2 days to cook. The rest of the days we cycle through in our family. So, and then there's one day where we have takeout. It's everybody's free day. So that was one parameter. Another parameter that I have begun to use in a personal manner is unsubscribing from different email chains, different email lists, because it's clutter, but it's clutter, and I'm not necessarily paying attention to it, but yet it's in the back of my mind. So that's one form of self-care. I launched a new coaching program on Wednesday. And so exercise very intentionally had this like envisioned this before the day. I knew at the end of it I was going to go to a certain park where you can go walk down and access a creek area. I'm in Ohio, we don't have ocean. And I'm not up in Cleveland, so we don't have the lake. But I'm in Columbus, but we do have some beautiful creeks and rivers and some wonderful waterways. So I went to a park near our home, where I knew I could sit by the water. The water is high right now because it's been raining and it's moving, and just went and had time to reflect. At a guilty pleasure, stopped at one of my favorite bakeries and got oversized crispy treat, Rice Krispie treat, and some overpriced mango tea, and sat by the creek and congratulated myself, celebrated myself, gave thanks to my ancestors, gave thanks to my God, and just really honored myself and honored the success. So that's another level of self-care. Um, Tomorrow I go get my feet done. So that's new for me. I've only been getting pedicures for the last year. I get them once a month now. So that's another form of self-care that I've leaned into. And so now I'm like on this self-care bus. I'm like, whatever I could do. Oh, I could do that. That could be my self-care. I bought myself a custom made orange leather tote bag, a luxury from a local designer, a luxury tote bag. That was self-care and just sort of congratulating me for the work that what I've built with Research Pro. So congratulating myself, recognizing my wins, and really taking time to intentionally celebrate it and be grateful for it. That is also a self-care that I'm really leaning into right now.
I love that. And thank you for honoring you and celebrating you because you're well deserved. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
You talked about therapy.
Mhm.
share about vetting therapists?
Yeah, so I don't know that I really did that very well. Or that I had much of a vetting process. I think I went to a website called Therapy for Black Girls, or like I Googled that, and then there was a website. It kind of took you, there were links for different states. So you find your area, and then there were like a listing of therapists in different areas. And so there was a listing for the Columbus, Ohio area, and I checked out a few of the websites. There was one in particular, the CEO and founder had recently participated in a TEDx, the TEDx King Lincoln Bronzeville. And I also had done a TEDx for that particular organization. And so that connection resonated with me. I had not met the person before, or hadn't met the founder before, but the fact that she had done a TEDx for this particular organization that is centering like the Black experience, and she had done a TEDx specifically on mental health for Black people. There was some resonance there for me. So reached out to that firm and got assigned to someone. So that was my vetting process. I don't know that that is much of a vetting process, um, but it was something that was it was an incredibly helpful experience for me.
I want you to have a monologue. Name this person, living or not. They've inspired you so much. Name the person and what specifically are you saying to that person?
Yeah, so I always default to my oldest daughter, Marie, and she is just amazing. She is my best and greatest investment, is what I have been telling her entire life. But she's just an amazing person. And so what she inspires me to believe in myself. She's my greatest cheerleader. I have a sign back here behind me, a Research Pro sign, and some window decals that she got for me. Like there are times early on in this journey, um, when early on in your entrepreneurial journey, your head is down, you're hustling, and you're just focused on the grind in some aspects. And certainly it was my oldest daughter, um, that really spurred me on. Like, you can do this. You're doing this. Look at you. You're already doing it. My husband was always supportive too, but I count it as a special blessing to have an adult child that is still in my life, and still likes me, and is supportive of me and sows into me in intangible and tangible ways alike. Um, she is a light into this world, and those that know her know that. She is just an amazing, amazing individual, and an amazing blessing and gift to this world, to this time and space. And I have full confidence that she can do anything that she wants. And it is because of her throughout her life that I believed in myself. There were so many times, and there were times that I know that I was blessed because of her. The blessing came for her, but it was also for me as well. Like, she was sort of the catalyst. There were times in my life where, like, I wasn't sure. I didn't believe in myself. I wasn't sure about my abilities. I didn't have the level of self worth that I should have. Um, but it was because of her, and looking at her and the aspirations that I had for her, that made me be more intentional about myself. So I'm just so grateful for her always.
That is beautiful.
Thank
There's
you.
so many brands and businesses that are dominating. Talk about a
Mhm.
brand or a business that's dominating that you admire and why.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. Let me think. So there is Her name is Jericia Hawk, and I think I saw she was a guest of yours before. So right now she is top of mind for me because I have been binge listening to her podcast and consuming her content. And she just did a podcast about the people that binge your content, the lurkers that you don't know about. And so I'm definitely one of her lurkers. But I love her brand right now. I find her to be incredibly inspirational. I am modeling our brand as best as I can. I find she's definitely an aspiration for me in growing my firm, um, scaling it in a way that I want to, and being really clear about making a growth plan for the season that I am in right now. I just like I mentioned, I just launched a new coaching program on Wednesday. It's a 7-week course, but we started on Wednesday. And it is part of the reason I had the courage to do that is because of her. Um, and so I really, really, that's a brand that I admire, I follow, and I encourage other um, business women, other women of color that have side hustles, etc., to also tap into her. Um, Jericia Hawk, and I think her podcast is Jericia Said.
Thank you for shouting her out. That's awesome. You talked
Absolutely.
about the pandemic, but I want you to fill in the blank. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, because
Yes, yes, yes. And so I had a little bit of survivor's guilt around this for a little while. Um, because thank you, pandemic, because Research Pro blew up just exponentially. My revenue from 2019 to 2020, it grew, I think it was 4 times, quadrupled. Um, created opportunities for me. I presented virtually all across the planet, quite literally, and got in front of audiences that otherwise I wouldn't have. Um, thank you, pandemic, for making this all remote and making Zoom a thing. And that really has, again, put me in front of my target market and created opportunities for me. And then not just that, so it's as a Black woman, it's also important to call out the murder of George Floyd, to call out the Black Lives Matter movement, because that certainly has also created has brought clients to my door. There are organizations, I work only with nonprofit organizations, and for the most part, these organizations are predominantly white institutions. And so it is because of a lot of the social injustice that it has come to the forefront that there are individuals in these organizations that are practicing intentionally and actively practicing DEI strategies, diversity and inclusion strategies, and proactively seeking out Black women, women of color, to be consultants and service providers and vendors, etc. And so I fully recognize um, that some of that way has benefited me as well.
Regina, I want you to exhale and take a deep breath. I want you to talk about your awesomeness. You have shined the light on you, but I want you to really go deep and talk about your awesomeness to the audience. There's things we don't know about you that we should.
Mm-hmm.
Take it away.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I've been practicing I am statements recently and really leaning into different like morning rituals, new morning rituals, meditation rituals, and that type of thing. So the I am I am, first off, I am grateful. I am incredibly grateful for the gifts that I have. I am a creative. I am a manifester. I am the one that will take a vision, a thought from nothing to turn it into a T2D, write it down, and then turn it into 3D. I am the creatrix that brings forth beautiful things. I am an artist. I am a data scientist. I am a CEO. I am a mother. I am a divine feminine spiritual being. I am a wife. I am a loving partner. All of these things. I am much loved. I grew up in a very loving family, and friends would say that I was spoiled. Some of my older aunts and uncles would say that I was spoiled, and my grandmother would defend me and say, "No, no, no, she's not spoiled. She's just much loved." I am much loved, and I am so in love with me. I am selfish when I need to be. I know who I am. I know who I am. I have knowledge of self. Yes, just all of those things, all of those things, all of those things. I am blessed beyond measure and allow my blessings to come with ease.
Love that. There's risk in entrepreneurship, that role of CEO, founder, owning your own business. Talk about the worst moment in business. What was your takeaway?
Ooh, this is a good one. Like I feel like I've had different moments where like this is the worst. And then something else happens a few months later, like this is the worst. And then, time goes on, it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad. Hmm. Something that is top of mind, so I'll just share it because it felt like the worst. And as a business owner, it certainly we're always aware of our money. Mind on my money, and my money is on my mind. So the worst moment recently was a client decided it was a 12-month retainer, and one of the individuals on the team, and unfortunately, the individual that controlled the check, decided that she did not want to pay me the second half of the retainer. And so the situation got to a point where, like, I just had to discontinue the work until the second half of the payment was received so that we could continue the second half of the service term. And it was the worst moment because I'm a classic textbook Virgo that likes stuff to pay for itself. I check the budget every day, and it was just so for a number of reasons, it was the worst moment. It also was a terrible moment because it felt like she was dissatisfied with me. Like there was the customer dissatisfaction, like to the point that you don't want to pay me. And so there was that. Like, did I do something wrong? Um, but it was a coach that helped me. And it was also this same coach, Debrina Ganty Jackson is her name, and the same coach that helped me figure out how I wanted to be a wife and a CEO and how to show up in that. But an amazing coach that I was had opportunities, had access to through a program called through WCEO Aspire program for Black women business owners. But she coached me through that situation, and helped me to navigate that, helped me to get my check, and helped me to figure out how to continue through the service term. And so, just for clarification, that was a team of, I don't know, about 10 people. And everyone else was fully satisfied. Everyone else was having a wonderful time with me, and as I was with them. But there was just one individual that, for whatever reason, of her own, felt like she wanted to interject that energy. Um, but again, having a coach work through that, help me work through that. Like I said, that person, I did get paid. We did carry out the term, and that person eventually apologized and said and admitted that she had no real reason to do that, and it was just unprofessional on her part, and apologized. And once her team stood up and was like, "What are you doing?" Apologized and said that she didn't realize that how valuable I was to her team. So it was a worst moment for a lot of reasons, but then it was also a learning moment for me as a CEO. Um, and one of those things like just do it afraid. You got to do it. You got to go through it. You got to stand up for your value. You have to have these parameters. No, you can't keep working, waiting, and seeing what they're going to do. No, you're going to stop. No, yes, you are going to bring your attorney into this. All of these things. Yes, you are going to stand up for yourself. And that was definitely, and it was a worse moment, but also a great lesson, and helped me really lean into being a CEO in another way.
Regina, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I want you to ask the question and answer it.
Ooh, wow, Francis, that's a good one. Mm, mm.
Listen, and by the way, I did not pay Regina to say that.
Let's see. Okay, here is one because I'm trying to get to an answer for this for myself. Where do you want to be? Not where do you want to be? What's your end game? What's your exit plan? I think that is an important question for any business owner, whether or not it's a side hustle or you're an entrepreneur or you're employing others, etc. What is your exit plan? And my exit plan is different. So personally, my exit plan is a life of ease. My exit plan includes living oceanside. My exit plan includes homes here in the United States and a home in somewhere in Africa, probably in Ghana, where my husband is from. My exit plan includes selling my business. My exit plan includes my exit plan includes I'll just phrase it as financial security. And the financial planner knows what that means. Well, my financial planner knows what that means. So that would be my exit plan. And I think it's very important to have one because it is easy to get caught up in the day to day and the daily grind and the daily hustle. But thinking about the next 5 years, next 10 years, what about when I'm 70? What about when I'm 80? My grandparents lived into their 90s. I have one that lived into her 90s. What about when I'm 90? I don't want to still, I don't want to be on a podcast when I'm 90. I don't, I want to be on the beach somewhere, sipping blue sky mango juice in Ghana. So the exit plan is really important.
I like that. We've come to the part of our interview. It's called Rapid Round of Fun. I'm going to ask you
Okay.
questions and I want you to give me very quick answers. If there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you
Okay.
ready for the rapid round of fun?
I'm ready.
Your ideal car.
Mm, a Porsche.
Your favorite holiday?
Kwanzaa.
Your favorite comfort food?
Oh goodness. My mother's lemon bars.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Salad. Greens.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Bob Marley.
Your favorite dance song?
Mm. Ooh, that's a tough one. Anything by Coffee.
Work out or hit the couch?
Mm. A little of both.
Regina Allison, thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. Before we let you go, share with our audience the best way for them to connect with you and to do business with you. And feel free to leave all your social media handles.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Francis, for the opportunity. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have this conversation. I really enjoyed it. You can reach me or find me at theresearchpro.com, www.theresearchpro.com. You can also find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at The Research Pro. It's my handle.
Thank you, Regina. That's a wrap.
Thanks so much.